In this video, we'll study about the different forms of connective tissue. First, we'll see about the loose areolar connective tissue. It consists of loosely arranged collagen fibers that appears to enclose large spaces, and you have an abundant ground substance. These spaces are called areolae. Hence, this tissue is also known as the areolar tissue. It gets distorted easily, hence it allows the tissue to move freely. Example, the endomysium, the subperiosteal tissue, the lamina propria. Next we'll see about the dense collagenous connective tissue or dense fibrous connective tissue. In loose areolar tissue, the fiber bundles are loosely arranged with wide spaces in between them. In many situations, the fiber bundles are much more prominent and form the dense mass. This kind of tissue is known as the fibrous tissue. It appears white in color and hence it is also known as the white fibrous tissue. There are two kinds of dense connective tissue. One is regular, the other one is irregular according to the orientation of their fibrous component. So in this picture, you can see the bundles of collagens are arranged parallel to one another in a very orderly manner. So this kind of tissue is called as the regular fibrous tissue or the regular connective tissue. The best example for this is the tendons. Many ligaments are also made up of similar tissue, but in them there are different layers of which the fibers run in somewhat different directions. A similar arrangement is also seen in the sheets of deep fascia, intermuscular septa, aponeurosis, the central tendon of the diaphragm, the fibrous pericardium and the dura mater. In this picture, you can see the collagen bundles do not show a regular arrangement but interlace in various directions. So this forms the dense irregular connective tissue. Such tissue is found in the dermis, the connective tissue sheets of the muscles and the nerves, the capsules of the gland, the sclera, the periosteum and the adventitia of the blood vessels. Now we'll see about tendons in short. The tendons are composed of collagen fibers that run parallel to each other. The fibers are arranged in the form of bundles and these bundles are united by the areolar tissue which contains a numerous fibroblasts. In longitudinal section through a tendon, the fibroblast and the nuclei, they appear to be elongated. In the transverse section, so this is the transverse section and this side of the picture is a higher magnification. Here you can see the fibroblast are stellate shaped. The tendons serve to concentrate the pull of a muscle on a relatively small area of bone. By curving around bony pulleys or under reticula, they allow the alteration in the direction of pull. The tendon also allows the muscle mass to be placed at a convenient distance away from its site of action. Next we'll see about the connective tissue with special properties. So in this we'll see first about the elastic tissue. It is a specialized dense connective tissue formed by the elastic fibers. In contrast to the fibrous tissue which appears white, the elastic tissue is yellow in color. Some ligaments are made up of elastic tissue. These include the ligamentum nuchae on the back of neck, the ligamentum flava which connects the lamina of adjoining vertebrae and the vocal ligaments of the larynx are made up of elastic tissues. The elastic fibers are numerous in membranes that are required to stretch periodically. For example, the deeper layer of superficial fascia covering the anterior abdominal wall has a high proportion of elastic fibers to allow the distension of the abdomen. The elastic fibers may fuse with each other to form sheets which are usually fenestrated. Such sheets form the main support for the walls of the large arteries, example aorta. In smaller arteries, they form the internal elastic lamina. Next, we'll see about the reticular tissue. It is a loose connective tissue made up of reticular fibers. In the lymph nodes and the glands, these fibers form the supporting network for the cells. In the bone marrow, spleen and lymph nodes, the reticular network is closely associated with reticular cells, and most of these cells are fibroblasts, but some may be macrophages. Next, we'll see about the mucoid tissue. In contrast to all connective tissue, the most prominent component of mucoid tissue is a jelly-like ground substance which is rich in hyaluronic acid. Scattered through the ground substance, there are star-shaped fibroblasts and some delicate collagen fibers, and some rounded cells are there. This kind of tissue is found in the umbilical cord. The vitreous of the eyeball is also a similar tissue. Next, we'll see about the adipose tissue. The adipose tissue is basically an aggregation of fat cells which are also known as the adipocytes. It is found subcutaneously throughout the body except over the eyelid, the auricle, the penis and the scrotum. When you see the distribution, it is present in the superficial fascia over most of the body, and this subcutaneous layer of fat is called as the panniculus adiposus. It is responsible for giving a smooth contour to the skin. The distribution of the adipose tissue is different in the different region, and it is also different in male and in female. This gives a difference in the body contours in the male and the female. In women, it forms a thicker and more even layer. This is responsible for the soft contour of the female body. The subcutaneous fat is not present in animals that have a thick coat of fur. The adipose tissue fills the several hollow spaces in the body. These include the orbit, the axilla, the ischiorectal fossa. In the adult, much of the space in the marrow cavities of the long bone is filled by fat in the form of yellow bone marrow. Much fat is also present in the synovial folds of many joints, filling the space. The fat is present around many abdominal organs, especially the kidney, which forms the perinephric fat. The considerable amount of fat may be stored in the greater omentum and also in other peritoneal folds. When you see the structure, the fat cells can be easily seen by spreading out a small piece of fresh omentum taken from an animal on a slide. They are best seen in the regions where the layer of the fat is thin. The fat content can be brightly stained by using certain dyes like Sudan 3 and 4. During the preparation of the usual classroom slides, the tissues have to be treated with the fat solvent like xylene or benzene, which dissolves out the fat, so that in such preparation the fat cells look like rounded empty spaces. The fat content of the cells can be preserved by cutting section after freezing the tissue, that is known as the frozen section. In this process, the tissue is not exposed to the fat solvents. The fat cells may be scattered single in some situation, but they are usually aggregated into groups that forms the lobules of the adipose tissue. The cells are supported by the reticular fibers, and then the lobules are held together by the areolar tissue. Adipose tissue is richly supplied by blood and it is rich in enzyme systems. When you see the function, it acts as a storehouse of the nutrition, the fat being deposited when available in excess and being removed when deficient in the diet. In many situations, the fat performs a mechanical function. The fat around the kidneys keep them in position. If there is a sudden depletion of this fat, the kidneys may become mobile, that is the floating kidney. The fat around the eyeball perform an important supporting function and allows the eyeball to move smoothly. In the palm and the sole and over the buttock region, the fat has a cushioning effect, protecting the underlying tissue from the pressure. In such area, the adipose tissue may contain many elastic fibers. It has been observed that in situations in which the presence of fat serves an important mechanical function, the fat is the last to be depleted in prolonged starvation. The subcutaneous fat has been regarded as an insulation against the heat loss and would certainly perform this function if the layer of the adipose tissue is thick. This is why the girls feel less cold than the boys at the same temperature. The whale can survive in very cold water because it has a very thick layer of subcutaneous fat. Some workers feel that the adipose tissue contributes to the warmth, not so by acting as an insulator, but by serving as a heat generator. The heat generated can be rapidly passed on to the neighboring tissue because of the rich blood supply of the adipose tissue. There are two views in the production of the adipose tissue. Some workers, they regarded the fat cells to be merely a fibroblast that had accumulated fat in their cytoplasm, and they believed that after the fat was discharged, the fat cells they reverted back to a fibroblast. Now, at present, most authorities believe that the fat cells are derived from specific cells that are known as the lipoblast, arising during the development from the undifferentiated mesenchymal cells. They regard the adipose tissue to be a specialized tissue. The points to favor these observations are: when an animal put on fat, it is because of an increase in the size of the fat cells rather than an increase in the number. The mature adipose tissue does not appear to have any capacity for regeneration. If a pad of fat is partially excised, the compensatory hypertrophy cannot be observed in the remaining parts. In man, the fat in the fat cells is in the form of triglyceride. It consists mainly of oleic acid and of a small amount of linoleic and palmitic acids. The composition of the fat differs from species to species and it is influenced by the diet. The esterification of the triglyceride results in the liberation of large amount of heat. Next we'll see about the types of adipose tissue. The adipose tissue is of two types. One is the yellow or white adipose tissue or unilocular adipose tissue. This is an adult type. The next one is the brown or multilocular adipose tissue, that is the embryonic type. The yellow adipose tissue is about what we have learned before. Next we'll see about the brown adipose tissue. In some parts of the body, the adipose tissue has a brownish color. The cells in this type of tissue differs from those of the yellow adipose tissue as follows. They are smaller than the typical adipose tissue and the fat in the cytoplasm occurs in the form of several small droplets. Hence, the brown fat is also called as the multilocular adipose tissue and the white or yellow that is known as the unilocular adipose tissue. When you see the Position of the nucleus. The cytoplasm and the nucleus of the cells are not pushed to the periphery in the brown adipose cells, whereas here in the yellow adipose tissue, the cytoplasm and the nuclei are pushed to the periphery. The cytoplasm contains numerous mitochondria, which are few in typical fat cells. The brown adipose tissue is abundant in the newborn, but most of it is lost during childhood. The brown fat is also abundant in hibernating animal, in whom it serves mainly as a heat generator when the animal comes out of the hibernation. The other connective tissues are the bone and the cartilages are regarded as forms of connective tissue, as the cells in them are widely separated by intercellular substance. The firmness of cartilage and the hardness of the bone is because of the nature of the ground substance in them. The blood is also included among the connective tissue, as the cells are widely dispersed in a fluid intercellular substance, the plasma. When you see the functions of the connective tissue in total, first we'll see about the mechanical function. In the form of loose connective tissue, it holds together the structures like skin, muscles, blood vessels, etc. It binds together the various layers of hollow viscera. In the form of areolar tissue and the reticular tissue, it forms a framework that supports the cellular elements of various organs like spleen, lymph node and the glands, and provides a capsule for them. The looseness of the areolar tissue, it facilitates the movement between the structures connected by it. The looseness of the superficial fascia enables the movement of the skin over the deep fascia. In hollow organs, this allows the mobility and stretching. In the form of deep fascia, the connective tissue provides a tight covering for the deeper structure, especially in the limbs and the neck, and help to maintain the shape of these regions. In the form of ligament, it holds the bone ends together at joints. In the form of deep fascia, intermuscular septa and aponeurosis, the connective tissue provides attachment for the origins and insertions of many muscles. In the form of tendon, it transmits the pull of the muscles to their insertion. The thickened area of deep fascia form the reticula that hold the tendons in places at wrist and the ankle. And when you see the both areolar tissue and the facial membranes, they provide the plane along which the blood vessels, lymphatics and the nerve travel. The superficial fascia provide passage to the vessels and the nerves going to the skin, and they support them. In the form of dura mater, it provides the support to the brain and the spinal cord. In the form of adipose tissue, it provides a store of nutrition, and in cold weather, the fat provides the insulation and helps to generate the heat. And because of presence of the cells of immune system such as macrophages and plasma cells, the connective tissue help the body to fight against the invading foreign body, the bacteria, by destroying them or by producing antibody against them. Because of the presence of fibroblasts, the connective tissue helps in laying down the collagen fibers necessary for the wound repair. By virtue of the presence of undifferentiated mesenchymal cells, the connective tissue can help in regeneration of the tissue, example cartilage and the bone, by providing cells from which the specialized cells can be formed. The deep fascia plays a very important role in facilitating the venous return from the limbs, especially the lower limb. When the muscle of the limb contract, the increase in their thickness is limited by the deep fascia. As a result, the vein deep to the fascia are pressed upon, and because of the presence of valves in the veins, this pressure causes the blood to flow towards the heart. In this way, the deep fascia enables the muscle to act as pump that push the venous blood towards the heart. Next, we'll see about the clinical correlation. Mutations in the genes that are responsible for the production of the collagen can lead to number of diseases. The main feature of these diseases is that there is a reduced strength in the tissues concerned. The collagen plays an important role in giving strength to the bone. When the collagen is not properly formed, the bones are weak and they break easily, and this condition is known as osteogenesis imperfecta. Mutations in the genes coding for fibrillin can result in abnormalities in the organ where elastic fibers play an important role. For example, there may be subluxation of the lens due to the weakness of the suspensory ligament. The tunica media of the aorta may be weak, and this can lead to rupture of the vessels, and it appears that the fibrillin has something to do with the control of the bone growth, and when fibrillin is deficient, the person becomes abnormally tall, and these are the features constitute the Marfan syndrome. There is a clinical condition that is called as the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. In this, the skin may become abnormally extensible and the joints may be lax because of improperly formed ligaments.